Good morning and welcome to SimWorld today on a New Year's Eve edition. I am Marsh, joined this Tuesday by Maestro himself. Good morning, Maestro. How are you?
My man, outstanding. Happy New Year to you and everybody else out there in SimWorld universe.
Yes, sir. Any big resolutions, Maestro, before we kick it off?
Burn less couches and eat more tofu. That's about it. How about yourself?
Actually, no, I don't have any because mostly I don't believe that a new year means I need to wait till then to do something better. Let's be better every day. That's
There
my
you go. My
motto.
man. My man.
Speaking of being better every day, the Lions become their winningest season in franchise history with a 14th win last night over the San Francisco 49ers. Yet they are still not locked up in their division and not locked up for the number one seed. That will be decided in a Week 18 showdown with the Minnesota Vikings. They need that to get the number one seed and avoid going on the road for all the playoff games. So could this be the Lions' year, Maestro?
It feels like it's going to be, Marsh. I tell you, this team has the right coach with the right mentality despite all the injuries they've had this year, particularly on the defensive side. I mean, I believe they have lost nearly 10 players between starters or first rotation guys. And they've still been able to manage putting themselves in this position because the coach went out and got players that are like himself, guys who like to, as he put it, chew on kneecaps and burn couches. So the idea here for Detroit is finally having a team that the city can really be behind sincerely and enjoy. It's a wonderful thing, but probably more importantly, Marsh, it's a situation where this team fits Detroit. And the fact that they are winning, the fact that they're winning the way they are winning, the fact that their coach is one of those riverboat gambler types that's going to go for it all the time, fits the hard hat working part of the town and what it represents, what it's represented to the NFL for so long, not to go into weeds on the history, so I won't. Yes, I believe this is their year to do something well. However, I'm just going to say this. They might get out of NFC, but there's still a little too much toughness on the AFC side for them, I think, to face this year. But it doesn't mean that they won't have a puncher's chance.
Well, the only thing that's going to throw them off right now is their defense, because their offense is obviously there. I mean, they've put up 50 points in a game. They've scored 34 plus in their last 4 games. Their offense is great, and their offense is healthy. Their defense is where it's not. And so this is the truth of football. And this is the truth that the SWFL decided they were going to get when they decided to add a 17th regular season game. You're going to have more opportunities for injury, and the biggest one, obviously, with Aiden Hutchinson going out. That one, you don't crack up to the extra game, and I don't know that that's everything, but it's just the fact that they are depleted on the defensive side of the ball. But again, that's football. I mean, when you have a long regular season in any sport, injuries is ultimately, unfortunately, what decides things, because that's just kind of how life goes. So is this their year? If their offense can function well and their defense can put together some stops. I find it absolutely fascinating that in this season of dominance by Detroit, we are sitting on a Week 18 Sunday Night Football game in which we're going to get the decision on who's not only number one in the conference, but also who's going to be winning the NFC North. I mean, that is what you want this thing to be, because I will be honest with you, Maestro, especially the 1 o'clock games on Sunday, my God, did they suck. I mean, the SWFL just shot everything, shot their wad, so to speak, on Saturday with the good football games, because Sunday at 1 was atrocious. We are finally getting some meaningful football games. Not that there haven't been, but some meaningful football games. So is this the Lions' year? I think it certainly can be, but it's going to be very challenging for them to get there because their defense is so depleted and the roster has faced so many injuries. It's a credit, though, to everything that Coach Campbell has done to put this team in the position that they are to be playing for the first number one seed in the conference in a turnaround in the last 2 years that I don't know that anybody foresaw coming, especially not being led by Jared Goff. All right, let's head to college sports, where the little dual action of the Texas Longhorns, where they have the football team is in the college football quarterfinals, and their basketball team is currently ranked number 5 in college basketball. So, Maestro, could this be a 2-time championship season for the Texas Longhorns?
I'm going to say no. Uh, I think the football team is going to have a major issue trying to get through the gauntlet. You know, they lost to Georgia twice already, plug for alumni, and they're going to lose again if they face them again, which they won't. I don't think they're going to get through here. The basketball team, however, I'm just going to say it straight up. I think they have an opportunity. I think they have a chance. I think there's too much burning though outside the Big 12 because they're still, for those who don't know, they're still in Big 12 in terms of basketball. They moved to the SEC in terms of football. The idea here for Texas getting through on the basketball side is a better chance because they play well with all the teams that are top from the ACC and other divisions, and even the SEC, as you brought up earlier, right? So, the idea here for Texas, basketball have a puncher's chance, football not so much. However, will not put anything past them getting the opportunity to go farther, maybe even making it to the championship game. Maybe in football, I might give them that, but I won't because I'm going to be nasty.
Look, I despise picking, and I'm gonna do it on the podcast before too long. But I don't love picking winners in college basketball because it's such a crapshoot. I mean, at least in football, you have a pretty good idea that the winning team typically, let's say 7 out of 10 times in these big games, tends to be the better team. College basketball just isn't that. And it's what makes college basketball beautiful, but it's also part of, in my opinion, what makes college basketball in picking a champion so difficult. And kind of, it's just like, well, I'm going to take this team and I might get lucky to it, but I don't know that there's a lot of foretelling. That being said, I find it very difficult to see a team beating Cooper Flag and the Duke Blue Devils right now. I just see that very difficult. Now, I love Arthur Lattimore. I think he's a fantastic basketball player. I think his upside is huge. I said it on the pod. I think he's a top 10 guy. If he came out this season, top 10, I would stand by that. I don't think that's a hot take. If somebody does, I don't know what temperature they have their room at because it's not that hot. That being said, I think the best chance of winning a championship is the football team. I mean, you statistically speaking, they have to win 3 football games. It's a heck of a lot less than what the basketball team's got to go through, and I just think it's better positioned. You know, they get Arizona State, they win that game, they get the matchup between Ohio State and Oregon. To your point, if they play Georgia again, they're done. It's simple as that. If they can't beat Georgia, they can beat everybody else in the country. We've seen that before in college football. So I don't think it's happening mostly because I just don't trust coaching or picking a college basketball champion because of how chaotic basketball can be at the college level. Real quick side note, I do love this about Arizona State. Their running back Scatabo, who came out and said, "Nobody can stop me." And add on to it, I know we've got this infatuation in America right now with white cornerbacks. We got a white running back leading a college football playoff team saying, "Nobody can stop me." I love it. The dude cooked in the Big 12 championship game against Iowa State.
Yes, he did.
That matchup, Texas minus 13 now. I think I'm most excited for that one. That one in the Boise State. I want to see Arizona State, Boise State march on until all these people, these college football elitists, that the little guy can actually get things done. Complete tangent. All right, let's jump on to little guys getting things done, and that's Kaishan Ship, who has been on fire right now for the St. Johnnies. Just hardly little, 6'9". I wouldn't call that a little man, but the Watertown, Massachusetts native, averaging 18.9 points per game. Maybe the biggest surprise of a St. John season that hasn't really been all that impressive, certainly. So right now they're 4-4 winners of their last 3 games. But Chip currently projected as a 25-ish, put him in the 20s, first-round pick. But he's been showing out. Your thoughts? Where do you think he could end up going, Maestro? Is this a big move, a surprising move, or just maybe somebody's got to score for some teams?
You know that. You stole the words out of my throat, Marsh. You suck. You're the worst. Yeah, that's exactly where I was going with that. He needs to be with the team. I should say the best fit would be with the team that has a slow scoring efficiency rating. And if you guys have followed me in my dirty shorts, or even when I'm calling games, or even if I hear my dirty shorts, wow, that didn't come out right. Or even talking dirty with me, that didn't come out right either. The idea here is, you want to score at least 1 point per possession. I know you get 2 when you score, but you want to get at least 1 point per possession to be what's on called schedule, right? Ship would give you that. And the teams that really need it right now in the SWBA, Minnesota, Golden State, and I'm going to throw Toronto in there just because they're just a hot, holy mess right now. Will he last that long in the draft? Will he go that early in the draft? I don't think so. Minnesota might have the best chance because they actually have a winning record, and I think we'll have a winning record throughout the season. But he needs to be with a team that needs someone that can help get up their scoring efficiency. And for me, those are the three best teams that could use a talent like him right now. Someone who's willing to do it all, willing to get dirty, but also can put the bucket in the biscuit.
The bucket in the biscuit, huh?
Yeah.
I'm messing with you, Maestro. I'll tell you what. After the Warriors showing last night, which I stupidly decided to stay up and watch. They could use some freaking scoring after they got blitzed by the Cavaliers. Chip, I think, fits. This is a cop-out, but he fits with everybody because he does freaking everything. And he's averaging 18.9 points. He's averaging 7.0 boards, so 7 boards and 4 assists. Those are all leading his team. And I need to do the research on this before I figure out what it is. But I'd be curious how many guys in college basketball are leading their team in all three of those stat categories, because you do not see it very often. You see 2 out of 3, you see obviously 1 out of 3, but 3 out of 3 is difficult to do. He's also a dangerous three-point threat, shooting above 40%. So he fits everywhere. And he's a guy that's going to be available in the 20s because he's senior. You're not going to love his upside because he's coming in at 22 years old. We've seen this. But if you look at a team like the Los Angeles Lakers, who got the benefit of a Dalton Knecht being around later in the draft than he normally would have been if he was 2 years or even 1 year younger, I think Ship is a fit for a team, like you said, that needs something from every part of the game. A wing that can attack the boards, who's not going to be your center, but he's still going to get things done on the inside for you. And I think, to your point, the Warriors is a great fit because the Warriors are completely lacking in all of those things. And they might be the way they're playing. They actually have as bad of a record right now as the Hornets and the Wizards ever since that awesome 12-3 start that they had. So things aren't looking rosy for the Warriors right now. They could use somebody to help out Steph Curry. Now, you're probably hoping for a little bit more than a Kayshawn Chip, who's, again, upside is probably a little limited, but a team that needs wing depth, and pretty much that's the entire Western Conference. Denver, if he's around in the 20s for the Denver Nuggets, that's a team that could use somebody to help out Jokic because they've gotten nothing from their high-powered or high-paid point guard. The Lakers could use help to get anything rolling next to this aging duo, or at least half of it. LeBron James turned 40 yesterday. So a team that needs anything, this is where Ship helps, and he's going to be exceptionally valuable if he is around in the 20s, because I think you're looking at a team that maybe could be on the fringe of contention, but needs not a superstar, because I don't think Ship's a superstar, but if you're looking at the Western Conference, particularly because the Eastern Conference is just atrocious up and down, a team near the middle of the pack, a Los Angeles Clippers, who could use a secondary guy next to or in between Kawhi Leonard and Norm Powell and off ball of James Harden, would also be a really great fit, in my opinion, of where Ship's going to go. I think it's going to be most interesting to see where scouts value and where the leagues value him in terms of, is his upside, because it's so low, going to make him a 20s? Or do you like his complete package of basketball and say, hey, we'll take him in the lottery because we think on day one we can plug him in and he can probably give us 18 to 20 minutes in some capacity, which is pretty rare for a rookie in the SWBA. All right, let's shift over to your favorite team, Maestro. I don't know if you like reruns, but the Jets might be eyeing one. They are eyeing their coaching search, and one name above all has stood out to me, and that is Rex Ryan, who's expected to have conversations with the Jets about their head coaching position. Better the second time around, Maestro. What do you think?
You know what? Yeah, I think it will be. A lot about Rex, and I'm just going to say this. I'm just going to get this out the way. So this is a personal alert going on. When Rex took over the job the first time, what he did was he reached out to every single person who had even tried out for the Jets over the course of whatever time, and invited them to the facilities and invited them to games and stuff like that. So I was lucky enough to be in that list, even though I was never truly on the team. So he reached out to every single person who put on the Jets green and white, even if it was for an extended tryout, because he's really a believer in the organization, right? And for those who don't know, he's the son of Buddy Ryan, who was the defensive line coach when the Jets won the Super Bowl back in 1968. So there's this wonderful picture of Weeb Eubank, Buddy Ryan, Walt Michaels sitting around a desk planning for Super Bowl III, and you see Rex and his twin brother underneath the table. And one of my favorite pictures of all time. And the reason I'm bringing all this up and not talking about the coaching side of it, I think he's learned a lot, leaving, going to Buffalo, leaving and coaching after getting fired from the Jets, going to Buffalo, then going back and now being on TV and watching the game the way he has. I think it slowed his mind down a little bit. I think it's given him a little bit more perspective. But I still believe in his heart of hearts, he still has that green and white. You know, I'm going to tell you something. Whether it's a good idea or not, it can't be any worse than what the Jets do now. And it can't be any worse than what's going on now with the dysfunctional organization is. But at least he'll have someone who, though, got ran out of town with pitchforks when he was run out the first time. I think at this particular point, his energy will be welcomed back. And then we can see this team build up again. The problem is he needs to bring someone who has an offensive mind that can hopefully deal with Aaron Rodgers. Oh, it tastes funny in my mouth to say that. And a couple of other players there because there's a lot of offensive talent that's not simply being used. So we'll see what happens, Marsh. But the idea is, what could go wrong?
Well, first off, what could go wrong is always the best way to start off any approach to a head coaching search. But I think that in modern football, certainly you need the offensive mind, but I think having a guy that has the respect and the consistent respect of the locker room is maybe more important. Now, I'm not sitting here saying you put a nimwit in charge and you hope just because he's well-liked that you're going to win football games. Obviously, that's not true. But if you look at the football teams that are successful right now, there's a consistency across the board in terms of they've got a sharp mind in some capacity, and they also exude massive amounts of respect from their football team. If you look at, let's go to the Houston Texans. Everybody in that locker room absolutely loves their head coach. If you go to Dan Campbell, we talked about him in the Lions. That dude, I can't find a person, I would be hard-pressed to find a person that says, I don't like that guy, that's a football player and understands the grind to go through a football game like Dan Campbell, okay? You go to the Minnesota Vikings, Kevin O'Connell, extremely well respected within that locker room. And I think that's something that Rex Ryan would bring to the table. Now, is it maybe a questionable decision to bring back somebody who already was, like you mentioned, ran out the building? Sure, maybe, but hell, Bill Belichick was asking about going back to the Jets organization before he took the North Carolina job, so it's not as if it's impossible for somebody on both sides to want to be back in the same building. So I think getting a guy like Rex Ryan who would instantly have the respect of the locker room that I don't think Robert Saleh probably ever had. I just, based off the actions of this organization and that roster over the last handful of seasons, I think that's obvious that he just never had the instant respect of the locker room, particularly the influential guys in it. And I think Rex Ryan would, because he's got the history, because he's got a very vibrant personality. It's a polarizing personality, but I think we've learned in the SWFL, polarizing tends to be kind of good for a locker room. I mean, the guy that loses the public perception vote, which I think right off the bat, Dan Campbell most certainly was losing that vote when he was in Detroit. Those guys tend to actually win the locker room because it's, hey, what do I care about the people outside this building? It's us inside. We're in the foxhole together. Let's get after it. And I think Rex Ryan would bring that. So I know that's not an analytical football take, but I actually think his personality, Maestro, would matter more for this football team than his schematic mind. But yeah, you bring in the assistants, you let them figure out the rest of it, and I think the Jets are in better shape. Anything's better than what they are right now, which is hogwash nearing the bottom of the barrel. All right, let's jump to a full day in SimWorld U as we run the tape on our SimWorld U wrap-up. And we start with a juicy one in which Colorado falls to Harvard 74-69. But we're going to start, I apologize, with our UCLA matchup, which actually I don't think occurred last night. So we're getting a little bit of an old-school one. Some backlogged highlights, a little UCLA Jalen Snow action for your Tuesday morning, but we'll go to Colorado and Harvard, where Harvard takes down Colorado 74-69. Afterwards, it's Brian Vaughn coming to the table saying he can't play with these bums anymore. Shocking to hear from Brian Vaughn. I say not because this is his personality the entire way around. Washington gets smacked by Louisville from JK's player of the night, DeMarco Graham, with a double-double, 19 points, 10 boards. The duo of DeMarco Graham and Pooh Lewis in the pick and roll last night was fantastic. Pooh Lewis also ends up with 19 in that one. Oregon, one game after adding Timothy Brown to the starting lineup at point guard, they are 2 games now, are 0-2 in this experiment. 71-61 loss to Penn State. They are now 7-9 on the year. Texas A&M getting closer to 500, beating up on a league worst Wake Forest team, 73-66. Tyrell Marr and Ronnie Shanahan with 16 points apiece. Missouri takes down Utah. Trayton Hendon, though, took 5 shots inside the three-point line. A shocking move from the three-point shooting big man. Not enough, as the Missouri Tigers, led by David Draffins, 20-13, get a 1-point win. And we'll close it out with Seton Hall, the 4-win Seton Hall. Look out for the Pirates. They take down, headphone coming out, Texas Tech. They 67-50. So the SimWorld wrap-up is this face right here. That's your end of the new year. We're going to do even better in the new year. We're going to get actual highlights on the SimWorld U wrap-up. But Maestro, what's your plan? New Year's Eve, are you a midnight ball drop guy? Or are you, I'll figure this out in the morning, I'm going to bed when I get tired kind of guy?
Well, okay, I got to give you full disclosure, Mars, because you always pull it out on me. I celebrate my new year earlier in the year just because of the faith thing. So that, I already have my new year going back in October. So that's what it is. I kind of chill with the with the Western New Year, and I'm kind of like, what's good on TV, what pizza tastes well, what couch needs to be burned, just because I can get away with it easier. I'm allegedly on that evening. Allegedly, so that's kind of how I roll with it.
Won't admit anything. Well, hey, I can't. You're gonna have plenty of good things. We got college football on tonight at 7:30, but I would say more importantly, we've got SimWorld U action at 8 and 9:30. Florida State and Indiana. You'll be in that one, so you'll be probably holed up in the Indiana hotel room. So that's a great way to close out your new year. And then North Carolina, Iowa will be our game of the week, 9:30 p.m. Talk about leading into the new year with a bang. 2 top 15 teams going at it. North Carolina coming off that tough loss to Arkansas at home. All right, that's our show. We're coming back in the new year. The corniest phrase, we'll see you next year, known to mankind. But we will, in fact, see you next year on SimWorld Today. Appreciate you joining us. Maestro, as always, great to see you. We'll talk to you again later in the week here on SimWorld TV, the only place you can see the game, be the game.